Have you ever wondered what separates an ordinary day from a headline in the world news? Just 1 second. A second when reality breaks and something happens that is impossible to believe. Today, you will learn about a person who survived a fall from a height of 10 kilometers without a parachute, and about a guy who met death twice on the same day and cheated it both times. I have collected 10 stories that will make you doubt the laws of physics and logic, and the most incredible of them, a case that doctors still call an error of the universe, awaits you at the very end. Watch until the end, because after this, your understanding of coincidences will change forever. Stephen King once said that reality is that which does not go away when you stop believing in it. And he was right. We are used to Hollywood scripts where everything is subject to the laws of the genre, but life is a much crazier screenwriter. It has no censorship, no boundaries, and it seems to completely lack a sense of proportion. In this episode, we will dive into the world of pure chance. Here are 10 fates that face the incredible. What is it? Blind luck, someone's evil joke, or a glitch in the matrix? You decide. But remember that everything you hear now actually happened. Let's go. Story 1. Frayne Salak, the man who had a season ticket to the afterlife. It all started in 1962 when a train carrying an ordinary music teacher derailed and fell into an icy river. Panic was all around and 17 people died, but Franny made it to the shore with only a broken arm. A year later, he was on a plane when a door suddenly blew out in midair. Frayne was literally sucked out of the cabin. He regained consciousness in a haystack while the plane crashed nearby. In the following years, he was hit by a bus. His car caught fire while driving, and he flew into a ditch. At the age of 73, having survived 7 deadly disasters, Frayne bought a lottery ticket for the first time in his life and hit a jackpot of $1 million. Did life simply pay back its debts? Story 2. A deadly bullet with a 20-year delay. In 1883, Henry Zieglin broke up with his girlfriend and she committed suicide. Her brother tracked Henry down in a garden and shot him in the face and then shot himself thinking he had killed him. But Henry survived because the bullet only grazed his cheek and got stuck in the trunk of an oak tree behind him. 20 years passed. Henry decided to cut down that same oak tree and planted dynamite under the roots. The explosion blew the trunk to pieces, and that very bullet, which had been waiting for its hour for 2 decades, flew out of the wood and hit Henry exactly in the temple. Justice caught up with him after a quarter of a century. Story 3. The lucky flight attendant. Vesna Vulovic was on board a plane that exploded at an altitude of 10,160 meters. She is the only person in history to survive such a jump without a parachute. She simply landed together with a piece of the tail on a snowy slope. Doctors did not believe that after such a fall it was possible to even breathe, let alone walk, but Vesna fully recovered. Story 4. A photograph from the future. In 1914, a woman in Germany took a photo of her son. Because of the war, she could not pick up the photo. 2 years later, in another city, she bought a clean photographic plate to take a picture of her newborn daughter. When the photo was developed, it revealed a double exposure, which was her son from the past and her daughter. How did the same plate get to her twice in different cities 2 years apart? Story 5. The unsinkable Violet Jessup. Her career began on the liner Olympic when it collided with a cruiser. Violet escaped. A year later, she moved to the Titanic. At night, when the giant went under the water, she helped women get into lifeboats before jumping into one herself. Later on, the hospital ship Britannic, she was in a wreck again. The ship hit a mine, and Violet jumped overboard and was sucked under the keel where she hit her head on the metal. But at the last moment, some force pushed her to the surface. She survived the 3 largest shipwrecks of the century. Story 6. Edgar Allan Poe's prediction. In 1838, Poe wrote a novel where 4 survivors of a wreck eat a cabin boy named Richard Parker. 46 years later, in 1884, a real ship called the Mignonette was wrecked. 4 sailors found themselves in a boat, and driven mad by hunger, they killed and ate the weakest one. His name was Richard Parker. Absolutely everything matched, including the number of people, the circumstances, and the name of the victim, which Poe had made up half a century before. Story 7. The Loneliest Man. In August 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a business trip in Hiroshima. A nuclear explosion occurred 3 kilometers away from him. He survived, burned, and wounded, and the next morning he went home to Nagasaki. He arrived at work, and right during his report to his boss about the horror of Hiroshima, a second sun flashed outside the window. Tsutomu survived 2 nuclear attacks in 3 days and lived to be 93 years old. Story 8. 82 Minutes Under the Ice. Anna Bogenholm fell through the ice into an icy stream headfirst. She spent more than 80 minutes there. When they pulled her out, her heart was not beating, and her body temperature was only 13 degrees. Doctors pronounced her clinically dead. However, in the hospital, they began to warm her slowly, and blood began to flow through her veins again. She literally thawed out and returned to life without a single brain injury. Story 9. A Baby Falling from the Sky. Imagine it is 1937 in Detroit. An ordinary worker named Joseph Figlock is walking down the street. Suddenly, a 1-year-old baby who fell out of a 4th-floor window falls on him. Thanks to Joseph, both stayed alive. Exactly a year later, the story repeated. The same Joseph was walking down the same street past the same house, and at that moment the same baby fell out of the window right into Joseph's arms. The odds of this event are 1 in a trillion. Story 10. The Lightning Rod Man. Roy Sullivan was a man whom the sky pursued all his life. Lightning hit him 7 times. The first time was in 42, and the last was in 77 while fishing, where he also had to fight off a bear. The probability of lightning hitting one person 7 times is practically 0, but Roy survived every strike, becoming the most electrified person in history. What do we see in these stories? Some will say it is chaos. Others will see fate in it. These cases are a reminder of how little we know about human capabilities and the limits of probability. We are used to thinking that we control our lives. No, the stories of Frayn Selak or Roy Sullivan show that we are just sparks in a huge whirlwind of coincidences. Reality will always be wider than any theories. The world is not just strange, but it is incomprehensible. Of course, when it comes to such things, there are always skeptics. And that is right. Many of these stories have become legends, and over decades the details could have been distorted. But documents and newspaper clippings of that time and medical reports confirmed the main point that these people existed and these events turned their lives around. Facts remain facts, no matter how crazy they seem. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Write in the comments whether you believe in fate or consider it all blind mathematics. Like the video if you want a second part, because I have a couple dozen more such cases in stock. Subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. See you later.